Another important part about being an artist is the fact that you sit at the table at times for endless hours. And ideally you would have decent posture doing that. I tend to sit like an old man bent over a table, and I'm sure any chiropractor would tell you that's bad for you. I, on the other hand, have great experience bending over a table like this for seemingly endless hours. In fact, my longest stretch was close to 3 days of almost nearly continuous work without sleep. I believe it was on Major Bummer or Man of Steel, I can't recall. But it was hell. I don't recommend that we do that right now. I've never been the same since though. I've never really had much success at sitting up at the table. Always consider that, whether or not you think you can spend the rest of your life sitting hunched over like a hunchback. As you can imagine, for the most part, sitting and drawing a non-tutorial page is rather quiet. There might be some music, some radio. Mostly it's sitting quietly drawing. We're going to pick up the pace. Important deadline, must meet. Give this monster a little texture, give Tom something to work with. What is texture? Good question, let's see. Texture is something, the surface is not smooth. It has either bumps or lumps, or in case of fabric, it might be a different type of fabric. It has, like wool has a different texture than rayon. Working with textures in comics just makes the artwork more interesting. We try to find ways to do it so that it's not too much work. And I'm putting a little bit of shadowing under here, but I'm going to start adding a lot more. The really nice thing about shadows is you can suggest that something's there without actually having to draw it. If I went through and I did all the detail on this, you'd never get it done in time. So you consider the fact that this has to be done. You have to know when to call it quits on a particular area. For example, we could sit here and just go, let's see, put a little bit more in the hand, a little bit more. That's plenty. We've done enough. Same, let's turn our attention to just finishing the face here. A few lines here, a little gloss on the lips. Take advantage of the darkness that we can add to this. Some of those sinuous strands that you'll see in monster faces. Cast a little bit more shadow under the jaw. And comics, as you remember, is a medium. It may be color, but it's black and white artwork blended with color. You have to use these different lines to give the illusion of roundness or depth. That's where you use bits of feathering and cross-hatching. I talk a great deal about that, but I really consider that the expertise of the inker. Yeah. That's where you use bits of feathering and cross-hatching. It's how you add a little curve and some form to the figure. The most likely one that people use is the feathered line. When you stack enough of those feathered lines next to each other, they give the illusion of roundness or a curve. And it's all an illusion, really. It's just two-dimensional artwork. And you just keep adding lines. It's an endless line addition problem. Now when it comes to women, especially young women, children apply as well, you don't want to become too involved in line work. The more lines that you add, the more old they appear. And with men you can get away with it, but with women, especially in the face, you really have to limit yourself. Otherwise you end up with a harsh looking face where actually what you had wanted was a round, kind of smooth look. You're not chiseling out the women. Even though the lines might exist naturally as you look at somebody's face, especially the ones around the mouth and the nose, you have to be very subtle or careful with it. You really have to do them just right, otherwise the effect of youth and femininity will be lost. Men, you can make them look about as gruesome as you want, but women require a softer touch, the pencil as well as the ink. Starting at a little bit more up here in the shoulder, and kind of using lines to the texture to try to add some dimension. Kind of killing two birds with one stone. Instead of doing a lot of feathering and a lot of lines to show roundness, I'm using the texture to do so. And right at the moment, it's a shortcut. The great thing about monsters is, even though you want to follow some anatomical rules, you don't have to follow too many. They're monsters. You can get away with quite a bit, especially in the back. Now if they got scales, big lumpy parts of skin, really easy. So here too, you try not to be too repetitious, and it's hard to have this sort of this planned chaos. It's something that takes a while to figure out. Eventually you can get it right. As you're drawing, you'll discover that if you're too organized, the things they don't look real, or they're distracting. I've always found that in city streets and such, it pays to know what belongs there, but really how much sort of subtle chaos is involved in drawing a street. It's quite a bit. Streets curve slightly, you have signage here and there. Just keep learning, or to add little bits and pieces. Now here I'm starting to curve around to the other side of the monster. With these bumpy protrusions, they're starting to cast a shadow. And then you have a really neat opportunity here to draw less that's in light and more that's in shadow. So here I'm just starting to break it up into little pieces that Tom will work around. You'll know what to do with these. Just like this. Right here within this part of the body, instead of getting really detailed, what I'm going to do is cast a shadow into his torso. And to make that illusion, the part that is closest to the light source, I have a bit more light cast upon it. And these are somewhat flat surfaces with little, much like up here, like the abdominal muscles sticking out. And we're going to cast a shadow into darkness. And underneath the neck, so that we don't totally lose this, we'll put a little area where we've cast light here too. And in here, I'll do the ever useful Xing. Now anyone who hasn't had the pleasure of Xing in a bunch of blacks, it's code for fill this in. I don't have anything to draw here. You, the inker, do. Just fill it in with black. Now learning how to do these kind of things, these muscles as they cast shadows, is again, you're best off learning a little bit from life, making it useful to yourself. Underneath here we have the leg, crotch. Blackening in a few things. Sometimes I have to do it just so I can make sure I know what I'm doing. So I give a little extra detail. Now, since there's going to be light down here, we could do a bounce light coming up. This is the bouncing light, adding a little illumination on the underside of the leg. Yeah, why not? Same in the comic book style crotch area. Monsters without genitalia. It's a sad thing. It's probably what makes them all angry. What do I do with the girl? I have nothing. I haven't worked on the woman yet, so we'll start down here and we'll continue to work our way this way. I'm going to do this background last because it'll be actually pretty simple. I'm just going to make like some sort of tech corridor. You'd be surprised sometimes what is asked for in scripts. Extremely simple ideas. So you get to do simple things just like draw a bunch of lines, techie lines all over machinery and stuff. That's where it gets fun in comics. She's not going to have nearly as much detail. She's so terribly skinny and underfed. And some guys are truly the master of females. I'd do all right. So, we have to dress her in some way. We'll put her in a tube top. Let's see, right across here like this. Guess we better get down to it and draw her face. This requires a little bit more concentration because a female face, if you mess it up, you're ridiculed forever. I didn't pick the most charming angle to draw a woman from. A little bit of emotion on her face. The eyelash is full. At this angle, there's not a lot of forehead to be seen. Some hair. My approach to doing hair is terribly disorganized and sloppy. And I've yet to perfect it out of sheer laziness. I do try to think of hair off as an object, like a solid mass. And that's one way I try to see it. Not as individual pieces to begin with. The thing is, hairstyles are a trendy thing, and they do tend to come and go. For the artists who were busy doing the Farrah Fawcett style haircuts back in the 70s, I'd say that they probably are a little out of style, and if you're still doing them, then you're not doing yourself any favors. I just don't see Wonder Woman with curly hair. I tend to draw her with a little straighter, more thick hair perhaps, a little bit, but nothing too outrageously curly and thick. Just seems like it'd be awfully rough to get up every day to take care of that mess. If I gave her some bangs, I wonder. That looks a little nicer. I mean, half of this drawing stuff, making this stuff look nice. And believe me, it's easy to go wrong. You have so many choices. Just gotta make the right ones. But I tend not to get too detailed in the hair, and I often make it much like an object. It is honestly an area that I'd like to improve upon. I don't want too much of her jawline to seem too bold, so one thing that I do, I'm not sure about something, I pick up my hand mirror and I reverse it. Take a look to see how I'm doing. Look okay? Does it make sense? Nothing leaps out at me? Nothing looked wrong? I don't want to make the hair too dark against his dark background, so I want to leave a little bit of light in it. That's probably enough. the monster's wrist, where it's going. Let's finish this arm over here. Not a lot of detail in these fingers, just a little subtlety. The form isn't too thick. Maybe a few horizontal stripes to accentuate the form. A few hatch lines to bring out some of the detail of the shape. Just go down here, finish the hip area, the leg up area. A foreshortened leg. Perhaps she's wearing little shorts, no belt. Button up fly. Zipper, just enough, huh? I'm not going to put a lot of detail into her legs, just a little. Same reason we mentioned before. We don't want it to seem too hard. Here we don't have to put too much in for the monster's hand. Great place to save a little time. Got his forearm over here, massive as it is. Put some texture. As you notice, I do turn the page occasionally. Let's get a different perspective on what I'm looking at. Now back here, so we don't lose all this into the hair, let's go through here. Show a little monster shoulder, a little texture, a few wrinkles in the arm. Since that's a bit in the background, we don't really need to put too much in there. I mean, there's no point in it. Perfectly sculpted thing that sits back here that no one's really going to notice all that much of. Cast a little shadow down here for the parts that we're not going to have to draw. Here we can, since our arm is over this a little bit, we could give it a little reality with the shadow of her arm being cast over his. Assuming this is a he, of course. I could be wrong. Monster texture. Warts, crackly looking stuff, scales, irregular lines. Down in here, since we're losing this to the darkness, put a little line work to cast it into shadow. More lines. Let's throw a little foot. Throw the monster's other leg in the back. Black. Black, 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 black. Now I know that over here, this area is not going to be all that important. And this is the area of central importance. So I'll just put a little bit down here for the knee. Just a little extra work for Tom. Then off the leg goes to nowhere. What do we figure our perspective line? Point was about right here. Okay, here I noticed right here, we don't want to run right into there. We talked about lines intersecting with each other, so perhaps we'll Move that off in another direction at this point. And some of these other lines, give them a little hardness to them. Start filling them in with a little darkness. Really, this is where you get kind of designy. Trying to fill the space without driving yourself nuts. A little black. You notice I'm not using a straight edge with this. You certainly could. I would imagine a lot of people would, but for me it's just not necessarily quicker. If you're not good at straight lines, chances are you're not. Of course, I often have to rely on Tom to straighten me out. It's one area you can take a lot of time on. We're pressed for time. This is something that has to be done today. So we're just trying to look for some pleasantness to this. A good question is, if we were to put the angle to it, just how well would it add up? I'm guessing it's possible it wouldn't add up all that greatly. In other words, in perfect perspective. But at times this is how stuff gets done. Quick. So I'll come over here with the line I've already drawn it across to see if it's going at least the right direction. Seems to be. Turn it upside down and take a look. That might tell you a thing or two if you're way out of line. Just keep looking for it. Sharpen them up a little bit. Tom knows exactly what to do with this stuff. All entirely by my eye. Let's see, let's grab this and see if some of this works out. Not too bad, let's see. Ding, 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 ding. This is our vanishing point right here. It's the point that we've chosen to run all these lines along. For the most part, these are lines that I had figured out by my sight, but I'm going back through real quickly, adding some edge, some detail here and there. You can see how these are skewed a little bit, so I'm straightening them out. You can see down here I'm off. It's not necessary for me to change these down here, but at least I know that they're not quite right. So if I wanted to, I could go like this, make it all work. It just doesn't have to be perfect. Look for anything that really jumps out at me as being wrong. For the most part, all I'm doing is just having fun here, just send on lines. I'm offsetting these from the other lines to give a little feeling of depth right here. Run these this way if I want. Continue the illusion. A lot of us do this. We do it a lot. On some of the goofy looking extra tech lines, nothing else to call them. Stuff to make it look more exotic. You see these sort of jagged lines go along and make things a little less conventional. Tech garbage. Almost done with this panel. This side will just start very little, if anything. Black. Maybe with some lights that are glowing. Right, we got our basic stuff. We're going to work from this panel over, here to there. All right, let's work from our girl first. So we're going to finish up this woman here of ample proportion, sort of comically arcing through the air. This won't take too long, it's a very simple figure. We don't want to over-render it, just the same, make it believable. This is the kind of thing that you could get carried away with. It's not supposed to stand out, it's just part of several things on a page. Some simple line work. Let's go in here and I'll give just a little surprised expression on her face. Just a little dot for the nose, really. Let the hair tell the rest of the story. This leg back here, we'll cast it in shadow.